Hey, Bill, I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that say stick up. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flick up. Bill, I'm in the mood for a change up. I leave the city and return with my change up. They got amnesia, don't remember how they played us. They wanna knock me down, but somehow I just stay up.
The Canon 20D was released back in 2004. Now, at the time, this cost around $1,500. Nowadays, you can find this used for about $50, and you can actually find it cheaper than that if you really shop around. So, just what do you get with this 18-year-old camera? Well, there's an 8.2 megapixel APS-C size sensor, an ISO range of 100 to 1600, but it does go up to 3200 in extended mode, and there's a 1.8-inch 118K dot LCD screen. The build quality of the 20D is actually really good. It's a super sturdy magnesium alloy. You know, you've got to remember, it wasn't until the 60D that the XXD line of cameras became sort of plasticky. From the 10D up through the 50D, these were sort of semi-professional cameras, and it shows. Now, in terms of autofocus, the 20D has 9 autofocus points, and they perform the way you would expect a 9-point autofocus system from 2004 to perform. They're not terrible, it's definitely workable and usable, but if you're coming off of like any type of modern camera, and it doesn't matter which company, Canon, Sony, Nikon, whatever, any type of modern camera, you might be a little disappointed with the autofocus from the 20D, but it's not bad. I mean, you can definitely work with it. Storage on the 20D is compact flash cards. Now, Canon officially states that it only supports up to an 8GB card, but during the time that I've been making this video, I've been filming with a 16GB card, and I haven't had any trouble whatsoever. So it at least supports up to 16GB, maybe more. In terms of shutter speed, the 20D actually does up to 1/8000th of a second, and you've got a burst rate of 5 frames per second with up to 23 frames in JPEG. Now in RAW, you've got 5 frames per second, but it only does up to about 6 frames. So keep that in mind for any of you would-be sports shooters who are interested in this camera. Another interesting fact about the 20D is this is the first in the XXD series to have an EFS mount. See, the Canon 10D actually had an EF mount, but this, being EFS, does support both full-frame EF lenses and crop sensor EFS lenses. Photo quality on the 20D is actually pretty good. You know, it's not going to compete with modern cameras, let's just get that out of the way. You're not looking at this camera for professional use. Like, I don't see you shooting sports or weddings with this, but if you're a hobbyist and you're just posting your pictures to social media, you will be 100% happy with the images coming from the 20D. You know, it's not going to compete with modern cameras with 32 and 42 megapixel sensors, but it's still perfectly fine and perfectly usable for social media. I mean, if the majority of your audience is just viewing on a computer screen or on a phone, this is plenty good. So is the Canon 20D still worth it in 2022? I gotta say yes. You know, at $50, that's just a great price. If you're already a Canon user, this makes a nice little backup camera, or maybe even like a travel camera. If you're someone who doesn't use Canon and you're just curious, you could get this camera for 50 bucks, and you could find a fast 50mm f1.8 lens for another 50 bucks. For 100 bucks, you'd have a whole system. You know, I think for me, part of what I like about the 20D is even though it's an older camera, it still provides a good user experience. You know, there are some cameras, there's kind of a cutoff point. I've got a review coming up in a few weeks of the Canon D30, not the 30D, the actual D30 that came out back in the year 2000. The D30 is so old-fashioned that it's kind of not really that enjoyable to use. The 20D has like its quirks, like, you know, you've got that 9-point autofocus system or that tiny little LCD screen, but that aside, it still provides like a decent overall user experience. And at 50 bucks, it's kind of hard to beat that price. Anyway, I think that's all I've got for today, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time.